Goodbye, Jean-Luc. I'm gonna miss you. You had such potential. But then again, all good things must come to an end.
Hey, it's Janoaz, and welcome back to another Star Trek video. All good things must come to an end, and today's ranking is for the final season of Star Trek The Next Generation. Surely after a show started from such low lows and grew to such high heights, as well as growing the beard, its final season surely must be, yeah, it's not very good.
There are no others like me.
As much as I love TNG, I can't deny that its final season is weak. It's not season 1 weak, but it's weak. There's sufficient evidence that the writers were simply running out of ideas. Or the good ideas are going over to DS9. But as hard as I am on season 7, it does have a few gems sprinkled in there, so we have that to look forward to. And the Tiermaker list is nearly complete, and getting rather small. It's been a long road, crew, getting from there to here. So TNG Season 7, let's make it so.
The Continuum didn't think you had it in you, Jean-Luc. But I knew you did.
But before I go further, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I talk a lot about Star Trek, video games, and whatever else I feel like talking about. And if you'd like to help support the channel, consider becoming a member. Be great to have you aboard. Okay, yes, I have Descent, both parts 1 and 2 in the D tier. I am sticking by that ranking. It's D for Descent.
Thought it might look good on me. What do you think?
Ah yes, liaisons. In other words, Star Trek The Next Generation does misery. Oh yeah, and also that guy makes Troy eat a whole bunch of chocolate, and the other guy picks fights with Worf.
Do not let my title inhibit you, Klingon.
I wouldn't call it a terrible episode, but it's certainly not great. Maybe low C tier for me. I'll call it better than Identity Crisis, but that ain't saying much. Oh, Interface, the one with Geordi's mom, and it turns out she was probably dead. And I don't like that. I wish Geordi's mom was still alive. And the whole episode kind of teases that, oh, maybe she's alive, and no, not really. So just for that, I don't really like the episode all that much. Maybe I'll call it, I think it's a C tier episode. Maybe I'll call it better than Aquiel, but again, that ain't saying much. Gambit, and no, not about the X-Man. Gambit does have a fun adventure feel to it. I won't call it a top episode for me, but it does have its virtues. I will give it that. I think I'll call it B tier. I think I'll call it better than Frame of Mind. Phantasms, the one where Data experiments with dreaming, he has some really weird dreams, and then it turns out little microbic things are eating everything on the Enterprise, and the solution is Data to just scream at everything. I wish I was joking. You know, it's one of those episodes that has its memeable moments, like Troy Cake, or Data getting into bed and about to go to sleep. Oh yeah, and Data telling Worf how to take care of Spot.
Tell him he is a pretty cat. And a good cat.
I will feed him.
The episode does have its moments, but yeah, I'm pretty meh on it. I feel like this is a C tier episode, and I think it's better than... I'll call it better than Quality of Life. Dark Page is one of the gems of this season. It's a really good emotional episode for both Waxana and Deanna. This episode legitimately makes me cry like almost every time I watch it. And TV shows don't usually do that to me. I don't cry a lot for TV shows or movies or really a lot of media. I don't really cry at a whole bunch. This is one of the episodes, definitely a tearjerker for me. And this people might find this a little controversial. I'm actually going to put this in the A tier. I'm gonna call it better than Ship in a Bottle. It's a good episode, even if it does make me cry. Oh, Attached, the episode that kinda throws a wrench into my whole Picard is Wesley's father theory. Though not entirely, I still work around it. Picard and Beverly can kinda read each other's minds, they're on the run, and Picard claims he could never act on his feelings towards Beverly because she was his best friend's wife. Okay, Jean-Luc, it's not like memory wipes aren't a thing in Star Trek. Let's be real. But yeah, it's probably a low B tier episode for me. Even though it does kind of mess up my theory a little bit, I'll call it a low B tier episode. No. I'm gonna call it high C tier. It's better than Suspicions. Still a little mad at this episode. Force of Nature. Yeah, that was an episode. I think that was the one they're trying to develop a new version of Warp, but it was gonna be environmentally damaging, and... Yeah, I admit, I remember watching this episode, but I couldn't tell you much about it. It's not very memorable for me. Just for that, I'm calling it D tier. I mean, I'll call it better than... Times Squared. And I think it earns its spot in D tier simply because I don't remember it all that much. You know, at least an episode I hate, I remember it. And of course, an episode I love, I remember it. This episode, it just didn't leave much of an impression on me. Inheritance, Data's mother. I do like the actress who plays Data's mom, and I have no idea how to pronounce her name. I'm sorry. Here it is on the screen. She appears in Star Trek a couple of times, and she's great in her guest roles. Wish you could have seen a little bit more of her, because she is good. The episode is pretty mid for me, but I think the saving grace is Data's mom. She's kind of a likable character, although she basically admitted that, yeah, I wouldn't have left you behind if you were human. The only reason I left you behind to get taken in by the crystalline entity was because you were just an android. And, yeah, that's damaging, and I'm sure Deanna's gonna have to clear her schedule for that one.
I think I better clear my calendar for the next few weeks.
Even after that, she's kind of a likable character. She just kind of has that persona. So just for that, I'm gonna call it a B tier episode. Even if it's not the greatest episode, she's pretty good in it. I'll say it's better than Rightful Heir. Parallels is a decent episode. It's one of the decent episodes of season 7. It's an interesting episode. It might be a little hard to follow at times, but it's not bad. The only downside is that it's kind of the start of the Worf-Troy relationship, which shouldn't have happened. Those two are an extremely mismatched couple. But Parallels is alright. I'm gonna call it a B tier episode. I'll say it's better than... I'll call it better than Inheritance. The Pegasus is another decent episode of Season 7. I'd call it one of the gems of Season 7. Unfortunately, we got the very lackluster finale of Enterprise because of that episode, but that's not the Pegasus's fault. But yeah, Riker has kind of a crisis of conscience. Does he stick with his old captain, who's now an admiral, that's kind of strong-arming him into covering up some kind of illegal activities? Or does he come forward with the truth? And it turned out, yeah, his old captain was up to some funny business, and he regrets defending him. Yeah, it's an alright episode. I'm gonna call it high B tier. It's definitely no redemption. The enemy's better. Even Hero Worship I like better. It's probably technically better than Rascals. I'll put it there. Ah yes, Homeward, the one where we find out Worf has another brother, a human brother.
You mean he's your brother? I gotta sit down.
Where is Kern, by the way? But yeah, it's another one of those let's break the Prime Directive kind of episodes and throw an entire pre-warp civilization into the holodeck because why not? Yeah, it's an interesting concept. We do get a pre-DS9 Cassidy Yates, but yeah, I'm gonna call it a high C tier episode. It's okay, but I'll call it better than Suspicions. Oh no. Oh no. Sub Rosa. I think everything I needed to say about Sub Rosa, I said in that video I made. It took me 2 hours to rewatch that episode to work on that video. That's how bad the episode is. What can you say about Sub Rosa? It's Beverly Crusher dating her 100-year-old grandmother's ghost boyfriend who lives in a candle. That's the episode. Why did they think this was a good idea?
Just dinna light that candle.
Why not?
It'll bring the ghost.
Well, clearly, Sub Rosa is the worst episode of Next Gen for me. It's F tier. It is the last episode. It's terrible. Terrible. I know some people defend it. It's really that bad. I'm sorry. It's bad.
You know she had a lover? Do you believe that? Nana was 100 years old.
I know people love Lower Decks. I am not one of those people. I don't find most of the characters very compelling. There's that guy that tries to buddy up to Riker and tries to relate to Riker being Canadian, except Riker's not Canadian, he's from Alaska. There's the Vulcan guy who went over to Voyager, but they couldn't call him by his next-gen name, so they gave him another name. There's Ensign Cito, which... yeah, I'm sorry, I don't like her all that much because of the first duty. She was gonna cover up that accident, and Wesley, of all people, had to come forward. She was gonna go along with it. If Wesley's doing better than you from a moral standpoint, I'm sorry, I'm gonna hold that against you. Nurse Ogawa is good, though. I wouldn't mind an episode following Nurse Ogawa. But yeah, like everybody else in the episode, because it doesn't really follow the main cast, it just follows these lower decks crewmen. Well, not crewmen, I suppose they're all ensigns. But yeah, these characters don't really do it for me. I would have preferred if the main cast was much more involved with the lower decks crewmen. But yeah, this episode doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry. It's C tier, and I don't know. I think I'm gonna put it above Who Watches the Watchers, but yeah. Sorry, guys. I don't really like the episode all that much. Thine Own Self isn't a bad episode. It's another one of those episodes I don't think I'd call it great, but I don't mind watching it. Where Data finds himself on, I don't know, is it like a Renaissance planet? And he's carrying some radioactive minerals, and then they don't know what it is, so they're like putting it in all their jewelry, and they're getting sick from it, and Data has to figure out what's going on. It's an okay episode. I wouldn't call it great, but I don't mind watching it. I probably enjoy it more than Attached. Oh, Masks is just a weird one. Very odd little episode where basically Data's got multiple personalities because an entire library got downloaded into his brain. And then the ship is turning into an ancient library. It's a weird episode. To Masks' credit, we do get to see Brent Spiner's range, which I always like seeing in Next Gen. You know, Data's a very stoic character, so when Brent Spiner gets to step out of that, it's always fun to watch. But it's a very strange episode. Yeah, it doesn't do much for me. I'm gonna call it a D tier episode. It's probably better than Lonely Among Us, but hey, not up there. It's not better than Captain's Holiday. So, I'm putting it D tier. Eye of the Beholder. We have this episode to blame for Troy and Worf's romance. Sure, I said that about Parallels, but Eye of the Beholder made it official. And, no. But yeah, Troy's investigating the death of this crewman, and I don't know why she's doing the investigation when that's technically Worf's job, but she's empathic, but it's almost like telepathic, and yeah, the logic of the episode is a little off. It's I'd probably call it a low C tier episode. It's probably better than Interface. No, I'll do a little bit better. It's better than Liaisons. Maybe even Heart of Glory. Who Watches the Watchers? Well, it's better than Lower Decks. Yeah, I'm putting it there. Genesis. How do I explain Genesis? I think I put it best in my video covering 10 of Trek's weirdest episodes. Worf sprays Listerine in Beverly's face and paralyzes her. Troy turns into a tadpole. Riker turns into the Geico caveman and flips Picard the bird. And Picard begins his transformation into a lemur. Oh, and Barclay turns into a weird human Spider-Man. So yeah, it's a weird one for me. It's going D tier. It's probably better than Descent, but not by much. Journey's End, the one where Wesley acts like a little jerk the entire episode before ascending to a higher plane of existence with the Traveler. Yeah, that happened. Yeah, it's not a great episode. It could have been an alright episode if Wesley wasn't nearly as much of a jerk as he was.
This little baby will withstand over 500 Cochranes of warp field stress.
I don't think so.
As it is, probably a C tier episode for me. I'll call it better than Quality of Life, because I am willing to sit down and watch the episode, if only to roast Wesley a bit, but yeah, it's not very good. Firstborn, the last Alexander episode, and we even get James Sloyan, and he's always nice to see in Star Trek. And we get a Quark appearance, and I do appreciate a good Quark appearance. Not a bad episode. It's not the greatest Klingon episode, but I do like it for James Sloyan, because he always does a really good job when he appears in Star Trek. I'm gonna call it a B tier episode. It's not bad, especially not bad for a season 7 episode. I'll call it better than Silicon Avatar. Oh, is Bloodlines the one with Picard's son and not Wesley? Yeah, that's it. That guy was supposed to be like 23 years old and he's like pushing 40. Yeah, I feel like they're getting towards the end of the show. They started running out of ideas a long time ago. So let's just give Picard a random son for some reason. And it turns out he's not his son.
You'll never look at your hairline again in the same way.
We have the return of Bach from season 1, which, I don't know, do we really need a reappearance of Bach? I mean, it's okay. I don't mind sitting down to watching this episode, but is it really great? No. I mean, it's probably better than The Cost of Living, so I'll put it there, I guess. I know I've watched Emergence. I know I've seen it a couple of times. I could not tell you much about that episode. Like, I could not give you an actual synopsis of the episode, even like a brief synopsis. I don't think I could really do it. The Enterprise apparently gains sentience, and the Oriental Express is on the holodeck. That's all I could tell you about it. That episode, like, the plot just went completely over my head. I don't know. I don't know. If it can't tell that coherent of a story, it's not C tier. I think it's going below Man of the People. Yeah, I don't have many F tier episodes where I would consider the episode a failure or just awful. But yeah, I think I gotta put Emergence in F tier. Maybe I'll try to rewatch it and try to understand the story, but it's kind of incoherent. Yeah. Preemptive Strike, Ro's last episode. And it's actually a really good episode. I like this episode a lot. It introduces the Maquis. It kind of shows Rose sympathizing with the Maquis and their rebellious spirit and fighting against the Cardassians. Yeah, she probably shouldn't have been put on that mission in the first place. Still, it's a really good episode. I think Rose's sympathy for the Maquis is understandable. It makes sense that she would defect. She always kind of had that rebellious spirit that I think Picard was gonna try to mold into like a Starfleet form, but it just didn't work because the Maquis came along and she's like, yeah, these people, I get these people. And you have Picard's livid expression at the end of the episode, like, wow. I'm gonna call this an A tier episode. It's probably a better episode than Dark Page, but I have a soft spot for Dark Page. I'm gonna put it like right under Dark Page. Ah yes, the finale, All Good Things. I consider All Good Things to be the best finale of Star Trek. All Good Things does a really good job bringing everything full circle to the beginning of the show when Q put humanity on trial. And I know I put Encounter at Farpoint kinda low, because it's not a very good episode. But All Good Things does a really good job maintaining the quality of later Next Gen, well, you know, like during the good years, while bringing it full circle to the beginning. I'm gonna put All Good Things in S tier. I don't think it's better than the Best of Both Worlds, but it's very good. I will call it better than Iborg. And that's it! All 178 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation ranked. And honestly, even though I ranked some episodes low, I enjoy more episodes than not in the show. Heck, most episodes end up B tier and above. That's pretty good. And even though Season 7 was weak, it does have some pretty solid episodes. I love Star Trek The Next Generation, and I think it can be summed up this way. When it's good, it's phenomenal. Some of the best content in Trek. When it's bad, it's pretty notoriously bad. But either way, it's definitely a memorable and beloved series, and I think that's well earned. So where do I go from here? Well, since I did TNG, it only makes sense that I also cover Star Trek Deep Space Nine as well. And right now, I'm looking at a March 11th premiere for Ranking DS9 Season 1 with Tiermaker.com. And just in time for my birthday, so stay tuned. A big thank you to everyone for tuning in to my ranking of the episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation with Tiermaker.com. If you like what you see, why not give my video a like and subscribe to my channel? Tell your friends! Until next time,
See you out there.